AITA for not wanting to participate in a living funeral for myself before I die this year. I have a genetic condition, and since the diagnosis, many years ago, it's been all but certain I wouldn't pass of natural causes. I'm in my mid-60s, I've had a great life and I've done all the big things I hoped to do. I'm dealing just fine and need no sympathy. Doctors confirmed a few months ago that the end stages had set in and I began making the arrangements. My family very badly wants me to participate in a thing called a living funeral, or pre-funeral, where you gather, on Zoom in this case, as though it is the actual funeral and give speeches and such, but the subject, me, is still alive to witness it all. They've put a lot of thought and care into the planning of the funeral ceremony and apparently seem to feel it would be much more therapeutic for them to do the main portion while I am still here. Even still, I really just don't want to do that. It sounds awful. It sounds emotionally devastating and like it would rip the peace I've made with everything I'm leaving behind right out from under me. My family is still pushing for this, especially because with the pandemic, it may be that a lot of people won't have seen me in a year when I pass. They want to take the opportunity to give a forum to people to say what they need to say to me and make peace with me and commune with me, and feel it won't be nearly as cathartic if I am not there as it would be to do it while I am still alive. I could really benefit from some insight here, because there's a really valid argument that I'll deal with the fallout of the pre-funeral for a few months at worst, and they'll deal with the emotional fallout of not having had one for years. Am I the asshole for refusing to participate in this nice ceremony they're trying to put together for me? Edit, clarified detail. Edit 2. Wow. Thank you so much for the awards, and most of all, your kind words and personal stories. I had no idea this post would attract so much attention, and it's touched me so deeply. I'm very sorry I can't respond to everyone individually. I'm actually on the internet very little these days, but I'm reading everything I can and really appreciate everyone who has taken their time. Thank you all. It's literally your funeral. In my opinion, you should be the one to decide what happens. NTA. Absolutely NTA. That's really morbid and sounds depressing AF. If anything, I'd suggest compromising with having get-togethers on Zoom with different people where you can discuss how you're both doing, good memories, things like that. Keep it happy and whatnot. You shouldn't have to participate in anything that you don't want to do that makes you feel uncomfortable. Them trying to force this on you is them making it about their feelings, etc., and that's not fair to you. NTA. There's this theory I read about when I had cancer, ring theory. Briefly summarized, when dealing with people who are struggling with something, you cannot ask them to sympathize with how hard their situation is for you. Support the person having the problem and look for support for yourself elsewhere. You are not obliged to comfort anyone else about your imminent death. If those people who haven't seen you in a year want to see you before you pass, they should shoot you a text. Anything that people feel the need to say, they can put into a text or email or phone conversation. You would have to deal with the fallout from your funeral for the rest of your life. Your friends and family will have to cope with grief whether you sit still for this Zoom call or not. At that point, they will have to comfort each other, which is what a funeral is for the living to comfort each other. Catharsis is something they will have to achieve without you. So these people want to hold an event to honor your death while you're still alive and are offended that you won't let them have closure about your death? Wow. Just, wow. NTA. It has been my experience that funerals are more for the living than those who passed on, and boy is this proof of that. If they want closure, then they can individually send you a letter or give you a call. Their behavior regarding something you have expressed discomfort with is absolutely entitled and wrong. Seriously, there is nothing okay with the view of, hey, I know you're dying, and that's terrible and all, but have you considered my feelings? Utterly bonkers. I am so sorry that all of this is happening up. It might be best to point out that by trying to honor your life they are not honoring your wishes. AITA for embarrassing my sister during family dinner. So I F21, was having dinner with my family. My sister 31 and her fiance, my two brothers, 28, 23, and my parents. Let me give a small backstory before I continue. My sister has hated me all my life. I don't know why, but she does. Tried my hardest to have a relationship with her, but she never cared for it. You'd think after we've all matured, she'd quit whatever it is she's on, but she's still the same as she was when we were children. My parents never called her out on how she treated me, so she just continued it. One of her favorite things to do is compare me at a certain age to her when she was that age. For example, I was smarter at 14 than Op was. I even got better grades. And that brings me to today. My sister was on her shit again and comparing me and the college courses I'm currently taking versus the ones she took. She took it to another level and said I wasn't smart and she could prove I cheated 12 years through school and 2 years in college. She asks, this is her exact question: if you're so smart, what is the noun of a pronoun with an adverb? Everyone around the table kinda just stares like, what? She asks again. I tell her there's no answer to that as it didn't make any sense. Her conclusion: I'm an idiot. So, I decided to ask her a question. I asked her to tell me, how does precipitation work in the water cycle? Simple question to me. No answer. She gets red and says I purposely used a big word to confuse her and I wasn't being fair. Here's where I could be the ass. I mocked what she said, but I thought you were smarter than me. My brother chimed in and said it was a fair question and she got embarrassed and walked out. My dad says I owe her an apology and said I should have been the bigger person as I've always been. I told him I'm not going to apologize and she can cry about it. AITA? NTA. She can dish it out but she can't take it. Yay, lol, and that sucks for her. NTA. Good for you for standing up for yourself. Op. If that is all you did or said, it was pretty damn mild and she overreacted. If she starts back up, and you react again, maybe she will learn to not poke at you, if she is so smart. And you don't always have to be the bigger person. If your 10 years older sister wants to pick on you in public. Edited to add, she didn't know precipitation is rain. Precipitation is a big word. Maybe accusing you of cheating your way all through school is projection on her part. Or maybe not. Maybe projection is just too big a word for her. You can save that word the next time. NTA. Your sister is jealous of you, and puts you down. BC. She is stupid. Was precipitation supposed to be the big word a 31-year-old educated woman doesn't know? Christ, your NTA and your sister is high on her horse. If you can get her explanation of a noun of a pronoun with an adverb, please post it. I have to know. Yes. I read it 3 times and still have no clue. AITA for throwing away all my sister-in-law's wedding invitations. So I, 18F, run a small business, where I do calligraphy. I make Redbubble stickers and do wedding invitations. It's not a large source of income for me, but it is nice to have a few more dollars coming in. I do hope to expand it one day because I put a lot of work into my designs and spend a lot of money on supplies. My 25M brother got married to his 26F girlfriend before the world went to hell, but there is an incident that she still is angry with me for and refuses to speak to me. For her wedding, she asked me if I would do the invitations. I was fine with doing them as a wedding gift, until I realized that she was having a 200+ person wedding and wanted handwritten menus, invitations, and name cards as well as table cards with facts about her and her fiancé. Of course, she picked the most expensive stationery and most elaborate designs that she could. I told her straightforward that I would not be able to finance this, me being a broke 17-year-old saving up for college, and that I could do if I were paid, in which I would just give her a regular wedding gift. I told her that I would heavily discount the price to where she would only be paying for supplies. She told me that we would work out the details, to which I assumed she meant the price/budget for supplies. Now I finish all the invitations took me a significant chunk of time, but they are ready to go. I ask my sil to reimburse me for the costs, and she flips her shit and refuses to pay me, saying that I'm taking advantage of her and that I should be nice to her since the rest of the wedding was extremely expensive and that I was doing this to purposely exclude her from her new family. Here's where I might be TA. At this point, I had spent a lot of money and time on them, and I realized that there was no way she was going to pay for the menus/table cards. So I threw away all the invitations I had made. It hurt to see my work go down the drain, but I did use the designs I created for them as examples on my Etsy site. By this time it was too late to hire someone to make new invitations, so Sil basically had to send emails instead of invitations. She managed to get printed menus for cheap though. Sil still won't speak with me. Mom is on my side and brother is pretty neutral, he just wants me to apologize to keep the peace. AITA too long didn't read. Sil refuses to pay for wedding invitations, so I throw away the ones I made for her. Edit 1, so some have asked why I couldn't just give that to her as a gift instead of buying a separate one when I realized that I wouldn't be paid. The reason is that the stationery plus new pens costed way more than I would usually shell out for a wedding gift. I was going to buy her a good coffee machine $80, as that was the only thing I could really afford on my budget. The stationery and supplies would have costed hundreds of dollars on my end if I had gone through with making all the things without reimbursement. This would have wiped out virtually all my profits for this year, but luckily I only ended up doing the invitations, so I wasted a lot less money than I would have if I had gone through with the project. Wow. She used the trust that family members have with one another to get you to put a time and money into a project when she actually had no intention of paying for it. She tried to rob a 17-year-old high schooler student, the sister of her future husband, no less. But not only is she the R, so is your brother. There were two people getting married. If she refused to pay, your brother should have. They both owe you an apology. NTA. NTA and your brother should have paid you. Family does not mean you have permission to take advantage. Always get at least 50% upfront for your work, even if it's family. NTA, but in the future, get a contract and a deposit to at least cover supplies before doing all that work. Especially true with family members. Nata. Grown woman taking advantage of a teenager. She didn't pay. She didn't get the invites. Don't apologize, it just gives her something to hold over you.